I will now recognize myself for a brief opening statement. We're here today because intellectual property protection is vital. And in fact, the United States is and remains has been and remains a leader in intellectual property, but also in respect for intellectual property. In fact, second only to the United Kingdom, we are the oldest country to incorporate intellectual property in the underpinning of our law and, in fact, in our Constitution. The medical innovations and scientific rigor that developed COVID-19 vaccines, for example, are no less an invention than anything else that we would invent now or in the future. And in fact, those inventions find themselves at risk because of executive action under TRIPS by the President of the United States. In May 2020, the Trump administration announced Operation Warp Speed to provide billions in taxpayer dollars to companies developing COVID-19 vaccines. Those companies, in many cases, moved from other projects to doing this project in order to save lives here and around the world. Unfortunately, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the WTO voted to permit member nations, including the People's Republic of China, to waive IP protections on COVID-19 vaccine technology, much of which was developed in the United States and Europe by our taxpayers. The Biden administration regrettably endorsed this action, one that I believe goes to very core of that constitutional protection, not just the constitutional protection of the right to have works of art and inventions be protected, but in fact, the taking of real property without compensation. This means that, in fact, there are two constitutional principles at risk here. The abuse, as I would frame it, came without reason, though, and not one nation has acted on the waiver. That's the good news. The good news is that, in fact, there is no direct damage as we speak today, and we are speaking more about future consideration of TRIPS waiver. Arguably, we should be here today to push for waivers of rescission on a bipartisan basis. Before or unless China were to take advantage of their opportunity and seize the technology in a non-recoverable way. As we know, it is irresistible for countries around the world to buy at the lowest possible price medicines and other products, and they do so without, per se, disrespect for invention, but knowing that often intellectual property has not been respected in the production of it. This is why I'm proud to introduce No Free TRIPS Act today with Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. The bill would simply require any presidential administration to receive congressional approval to waive targeted portions of the agreement on trade relations aspects of intellectual property, short reason we call it TRIPS, for all members of the World Trade Organization. This common sense idea that the underlying body should have to confer, and the body that can, in fact, appropriate funds to compensate those who might have a taking must be considered. Presidents could do a great many things. They cannot appropriate money to compensate for a taking of this magnitude. Any expansion of the TRIPS waiver agreement will undermine the very innovation, record-breaking rapid development that we saw for COVID-19. And for that reason, we are here today to talk not just about the risk of helping China, but the very risk to the innovation that we all enjoy here in the United States if we do not speak strongly in favor of respect for intellectual property.